Okay, we're going to do the Sprouling worksheet, week number 5. So number 1 asks, is this a function? And because it's a graph, all we have to do is look for, do our vertical line test. So if I do my vertical line test, if I am covering up more than one point at a time when I'm drawing my vertical lines, then this is not a function. So number 1 is going to be no. Number 2 is asking to identify the x and the y intercepts. Remember, my x-intercept will be whatever my x value is, but my y value will always be a 0. And for my y-intercept, it'll be the opposite. The 0 will always be my x, and then I'll have whatever the y value is. So if I want to find the x value, or my x-intercept, if I replace my y with 0, well, that will cancel this term out, and it just leaves the negative 8x equals negative 40. And I can divide both sides by negative 8. And I'll get x equals 5. So my x-intercept will be 5, 0. And then if we do it again for my y, this time I'm replacing my x with 0 and solving for the y. So this is gone, leaving my 5y equals negative 40. Divide both sides by 5. So my y will be a negative 8. So my y-intercept would be 0, negative 8. Number 3 says the owner of a bookstore recorded the following information from last week. He has number of customers and then the amount of sales. It says, according to the information in the table, which equation describes the relationship between the number of customers and the amount of sales? Okay, well, if you'll notice that, first of all, my equations, the s's are in where the y would normally be, and my c is where the x would normally be. So I'm just going to kind of make sure we realize that this would be my x column and this would be my y column. So what I'm going to do, of course, is I'm just going to go straight to our calculator, and let's put it in there. So let me pull a calculator up. Okay, and so remember, we're going to put this in a data table. So that means we're going to start with number 1, a new document, and we want a list or a spreadsheet. So that'd be number 4. And then I can put the S or the C up there if I'd like, but I think we're just very used to putting X's and Y's, so I'm going to stay with the X's and the Y's. But remember, the X was the top row, so that's going to be the 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, and 42. And then my Y's for the sales would be 80, 110, 140, 170, 200, and 230. And once we're there, we go to menu, 4, 1, and 3, and we'll put an X and then a Y. And then we can hit enter. Oh, sorry, I don't know. Just go to OK. And I think, oh no, I'm good. Okay, so we can see that my M is, my slope is 5, and my y-intercept is 20. So if we go back to our worksheet, okay, let me write that down real quickly. It was my M was 5, and my B was 20. So we're looking for S equals 5C plus 20. And we can see that we have it right here at H. Okay, number 4 says, if negative 3y is the solution to the equation 2x minus 4y equals 18, what is the value of y? Well, so in a roundabout way, they gave us what the value of x is by telling us that we have this solution. We know what the x value is, but we don't know what the y value is. So, if I replace my x with this number, I should be able to figure out what the y is. So I'm going to say 2 times a negative 3 minus 4y equals 18. And 2 times negative 3 was negative 6. And then I'm going to add 6 to both sides. That leaves me a negative 4y equals 24. And then divide both sides by negative 4. So my y is going to end up with a negative 6. And then on number 5, it's asking for the domain of the graph function. So remember, domain is going to be my x values. So all I have to do is look at, because this is a continuous graph, all I have to do is look at my endpoints. So that is going to be a -2, and this is going to be a +6. So we're going to have -2 is less than, and because this is an empty circle, it does not get the equal to, and then x less than, because this is a filled in circle, it will get the equal to, and the value of that endpoint is 6. So that would be the domain for this continuous graph. Number 6 is asking, what is the rate of change of the function y equals -7? Okay, well, rate of change, remember, that just means the slope. And so if we're not sure what this equation looks like graphed, let's pull up our calculator and let's put it in there and see what it looks like. So that means I'm going to go to a new document page. So I'm going to do Control Doc, so I'll get to a new page. I want a graph, so it's number 2. And right here I'm just going to type it in. Remember the f of x just means my y, and so it was y equals -7. So I'll type -7 and then I'll hit enter. And you can't see because my window, I need to change my window. So let me see. I go to menu, and then on menu number 4, see it says window zoom. I'm going to hit number 4. And I want to zoom out because I want to make it smaller, like I want to be able to see more, right? So I'm going to hit number 4 again. And then let me hit enter. Oh, there we go. That works. Okay, so we can see that it is a horizontal line. So do we recall what a horizontal line, the slope for a horizontal line is? And if we don't remember, we can always draw our slope guy. Remember, this is a positive slope. This is a negative slope. A vertical line has an undefined slope, and a horizontal line has a slope of 0. So that means C is going to be the correct answer. Okay, number 7 says, write an equation that is perpendicular to the line 12x plus 3y equals 18 and passes through the point 12, 1. Okay, perpendicular means my slopes have to be opposite reciprocals. So the first thing I need to know is, what is my slope of this line right here? So I'm going to rewrite or rearrange this and put it in slope-intercept form so I can pick out my slope. So that means I get my x over to the other side. I divide everything by 3. And I'll end up with y equals a -4x plus 6. So my slope on this equation is a -4. But I need the opposite reciprocal, so remember I need it to be a positive, and then it will be a 1/4. So this is the slope that I need to be using, and then here's my point that it needs to go through. So that means I'm going to be using my point slope form. So that is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to have y minus, and then my y value is right here at 1. Equals my new slope is going to be the 1/4 times x minus my x value, which is 12 from the point. And then all I have to do is kind of clean it up, right? So I'm going to distribute the 1/4. And I will have y minus 1 equals 1/4 x minus 3. And then we'll add 1 to both sides. 1/4x, and then that will give me a -2. So here's my equation that would be perpendicular to the original problem. Okay, number 8 just says to simplify. It is just a multiplication problem. Because it's multiplying, remember we multiply coefficients, add exponents. So I have 3 and I don't have another coefficient, so I'm just going to have my 3. And then I have a times a to the 3rd. That means we're going to have a to the 4th. And b to the 3rd times b to the 4th is going to be b to the 7th. Number 9 says WXYZ is a parallelogram. What is the area of WXYZ expressed as a monomial? So the area for a parallelogram is just base times height, which they've given to us. So that means I'm just going to multiply the 5g squared h cubed times the height, which is 2fgh squared. So again, multiply coefficients. So I've got 5 times 2, which will give me 10. And then I'm going to add my exponent. So I have an f over here. Let's put everything in alphabetical order. So I have an f, and then I have g squared times g, which is g cubed. And then I have h cubed times h squared, which will be h to the 5th. So the area of this parallelogram would be 10 f g cubed h to the 5th power. Okay, number 10 says if h, 5h, and 6h, 7h are 2 points on the graph of a line and h is not equal to 0, what is the slope of the line? Okay, so remember the formula for slope is just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I label these as x1, y1, and x2, y2, it'll be pretty easy to plug things in. So my second y is 7h minus my first y, which is 5h. And that's over my second x, which is 6h, minus my first x, which is 1h. Okay, so let's simplify that. So 7h minus 5h is 2h. 6h minus 1h would be 5h. And then we do know that anything over itself is, they cancel each other out because it comes out to be a 1, right? So these are gone basically. So my slope comes out to be just 2 over 5. All right, number 11 says the amount of money Antonio spent at the carnival can be found using the equation T equals $5.50 plus $1.35 G, where T represents the total cost and G represents the number of games Antonio played. If Antonio spent a total of $17.65, how many games did he play? So if G is representing the number of games, that means that's what we're solving for, and then this is the total. So that means we're going to put that where the T is. So I'm going to have $17.65 equals $5.50 plus $1.35 for every game. Now we know very easily we could put that into InSolve, which means we will go to menu 3, 1. We'll type this in, comma G, close the parentheses and hit enter, and we should come up with the number 9. Make sure you're bubbling that in correctly. And remember, if it's a positive, please do not bubble in the positive, just leave it blank. Okay, number 12 says, what is the solution of the inequality below? So all we have to do is isolate my x. So I'm going to distribute first. So I'll have 4x plus 20 less than 12. So subtract 20. And that is going to give me 4x less than a negative 8. I'm going to bring this up right here since I ran out of some space. Divide by 4 on both sides. I did not divide by a negative, so my inequality sign does not flip. And then negative 8 divided by 4 would give me negative 2. So I'm looking for x is less than negative 2. It looks like B is going to be the correct answer. Okay, let's look at number 13. It says for the line y equals mx plus b, where m is less than 0 and b is greater than 0, what change would occur if b is multiplied by 4 and m remains the same? Well, m is going to be our slope, and the slope is not changing, right? So anything down here that says anything about slope is not going to be correct. So I notice right here, b says the slope will become negative. Well, it didn't change, so we know that's not it. But the y-intercept is going to be multiplied by 4. And the y-intercept was greater than 1, so that, greater than 0, so it has to be 1 or more. If we multiply that by 4, that means it's still going to be a positive, so the y-intercept would become negative. No. The resulting line would intersect the original line. I'm not sure about that, but what about this? Resulting line would be parallel.